Hello and welcome everybody to the inaugural episode of Cinematic UniVersus. I am your co-host Andrew Carten.
And I'm your other co-host Kyle Torres.
And today we will be introducing you to the concept as well as talking about our first movie,
which is Billy the Kid versus Dracula.
But first, let's get into the whole concept of what we are here. So as we all know, the big thing right now is Cinematic UniVersus. We got the MCU, which is Marvel Cinematic Universe. We got
the DCEU.
Yes. that thing.
Several letters combined next to each other.
We got everybody's favorite, the Universal Dark Universe.
The Dark Universe. The Universal Dark Universe.
They made the name, not me.
The Dark Universal.
And fucking... Actually, this one, also true. The Spy Kids universe, because Machete also exists in that universe.
Right.
So, yeah. The thing nowadays is cinematic universes. So we thought we would take all the movie with verses in the title, because as we all know, like, having something in the title means that they're connected.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and they don't even necessarily have to be, like, have a number at the end or something.
Like how Batman Begins is the first movie and then fucking Dark Knight is the second one.
Yeah.
But that's still a sequel.
But regardless, there is the connecting tissue there between all of these movies in that they have verses in the title. So obviously they're all connected in some way. And we thought we'd dive into that sort of underground, not well known about universe and try and bring it all together for some of the people that don't really know about this one yet.
And this is actually a great episode to start because one of these characters, who I will not specify, does show up in quite a few.
Yes. Dracula will encounter many, many fights.
I like how I said I won't specify which one. You're like, yeah, it's Dracula.
Yeah, because like it's pretty obvious. I don't think
everyone knows that cowboys love fighting.
Everybody knows that Billy the Kid fights a ton of people.
In his 21 years alive, he killed everybody.
Yeah, exactly. He killed everyone. Anyway, so on to some information about today's episode. We're talking about Billy the Kid versus Dracula. The film was released in 1966 alongside the film Jesse James Meets Frankenstein's Daughter, a double feature which I'm sure I definitely want to watch after this one.
I actually do.
Both films, I found out, are directed by the same director, William Boudin, and it stars Chuck Courtney as Billy the Kid and John Carradine as Count Dracula.
Don't you love when you go to Canada and just get like a nice thing of Boudin?
Yeah, you know, it's my favorite. It is my favorite little snack. So, we're gonna talk about how the plot runs first, and then we'll sort of get into some opinions, and then we'll fit it all into the cinematic universes. So, to just talk about the plot. So, first off, for a movie called Billy the Kid versus Dracula, there sure is not a lot of Billy the Kid for a while.
Yeah, like the first time we watched this, and I'll say that I've watched it, I can actually say 2+ times. Mm-hmm. I've watched it more than twice. But the first time I watched this, I legitimately forgot Billy the Kid was going to be in it.
Yeah. They spend a lot of time on Dracula, and it's not like this is a long movie. It's about 75 minutes long, and the first 15 minutes of that hour and 15 is just entirely dedicated to Dracula. So it starts off, there's like a small camp of just like a little family, and Dracula just comes in and kills the daughter, and
actually
roll credits, right?
That daughter was Billy the Kid.
That daughter, Einstein.
He actually doesn't kill her. I don't know if you remember. He sucks her blood, but doesn't kill her because she comes back.
Oh yeah,
later on.
That's right. Yeah.
In the same hotel. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll dive all into this later on. But anyway, after the credits roll, the opening credits, that is.
Nope, the end credits.
The end credits roll right there.
This movie has Benjamin Button syndrome, where it like just plays backwards.
And this was the like.
That was the climax.
That was the post credits. Oh my god. Anyway, so after these credits, or I guess before, Technically, thanks to this like Jeopardy universe that you've introduced us to now, where they give us the answers first, and then we have to give them the questions.
I mean, not gonna lie, going in, I was legitimately gonna ask, who is Billy the Kid? Because we haven't fucking seen him.
Yeah. So, after the credits, Jesus Christ, it took us a long while to get through that. Dracula is seen in a small travel wagon with 2 drivers, a whiskey salesman, and an older woman and a man. And while they're all making small talk in the wagon,
the whiskey salesman is just going down to be, I think, the most charismatic person, not only in the movie, but I have ever met, despite the fact me never meeting him.
He was my first of several favorite characters in this movie.
Okay, I got real worried when you said he was your first. Because he does...
This whiskey salesman from a film in the 1960s, but the movie takes place in the 80s. 1880s.
This movie was ahead of its time.
It really was.
How did they know that the 1980s were going to be a barren wasteland of just lawless cowboys?
Oh my god. So anyway, they're all just making small talk. The whiskey salesman is my first of several favorite characters in this movie. And he's just, like you said, he's extremely charismatic. He's an oaf, I would say. He's a lovable oaf.
He definitely doesn't get enough screen time.
Definitely not. No, I think that's something, like, every time I watch it, I was, like, wishing I could see more of this whiskey salesman.
Exactly.
I don't need a full backstory, but I just wish we had a little bit more.
You know what? I will say
You want an entire spin-off movie?
Yeah,
of the
that's
whiskey
actually what I was
salesman?
going to say. You know how, like, in the Marvel movies, like, they set up each individual character before they, like, throw them into a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want the solo film for whiskey salesman. I'm gonna make this up for him right now, real quick. His name's Cletus. He got into the...
He says his full name.
Fuck.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, so his name's Cletus. It doesn't matter.
I just remember that he says, like, my name is blank blank, whiskey salesman.
Alright, fine. Hear me out. His name is Cletus.
Okay.
And I will round back to this. He and his father sell underground moonshine. His father gets killed by the police, and he's like, no, I'm good at selling whiskey. It's what I've been doing my whole life. I'm gonna go on the run, and I'm gonna do it. Changes his name so the cops don't find him. That's how he gets to this point in the movie.
Okay, alright.
I just ran through his entire solo movie.
Yeah, you sure did. You kind of spoiled it, really.
I mean, I've given these people, what, 50 years to make the movie?
That's true.
So, I think they've had their chance.
So anyway, while they're making small talk, we keep going so far off the rails here.
Good thing we're not
Dracula is making small talk with the woman and the man, and the woman informs him that they are on their way into this small town to visit their niece, Betty.
Yep.
And Betty has not met her uncle yet, who is the other man in the wagon.
He's the other man.
He's the other man.
But, this actually is, I think, we're just about getting to the most disgustingly executed line of dialogue I have ever heard.
It is spine tingling. Just like how Bill.
John,
I'm
he's not Billy the Kid anymore. He's Bill the Man.
Bill the Man. We'll get into that.
Yeah, he's not here for another 15 minutes.
But the way that John Carradine says this line is so off-putting. So he takes a look at the picture of Betty, and he just says, 18 and beautiful, with, like, this wide-eyed expression of just, like, he looks like the live-action version of Jafar.
Yeah, and that's before he was making the facial expression. Like, he does such cartoonish expressions.
Yeah,
He looks like it even more so every time he says anything.
Yeah, for sure. So after the disgusting line of describing Betty as 18 and beautiful in the worst way, eventually the wagon stops at a camp that's home to my next favorite character, the progressive prospector.
Yes. He is the best because, like, the whiskey salesman comes out and he's like, oh man, maybe I should try to sell these guys some whiskey.
And he's addressing some Native Americans who are also at this camp.
Yeah. And the prospector's like, I wouldn't. Oh, you don't think so? Nope.
Like, he doesn't go into it at all. Like, he doesn't bring up any stereotypes or tries to paint them as, like, dangerous or anything. He just says, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. And then when everyone's leaving, which we'll get into what happens at the camp in a moment, but I want to finish with the progressive prospector.
Of course. He's a great character. We should talk about him more. He should be the next spinoff.
I agree. So that one man who has the niece is going back into the carriage, and he mentioned something about quote-unquote these savages. And the fucking prospector is like, nah, I don't think so. And it honestly felt like his next line was going to be like, you're the savages here.
Yeah. It feels like it was something that was cut.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, his delivery just made it feel so fucking, like, natural that was what's going to come next.
So after the wagon leaves this small little camp, Dracula was left behind as part of Dracula's plan.
He wasn't taken in the rapture. He was left behind.
He was left behind, just like Nicolas Cage before him.
I like this fiction that we've created where Nicolas Cage predates Dracula.
Well, I mean, he predates a lot of us.
Yeah,
so.
Fair.
So Dracula attacks and kills one of the Native Americans at the camp, and then he disappears into his bat form.
Which we haven't actually covered yet.
Yeah. So the bat is just like this ridiculous, like...
It's like a Party City bat. Like,
yeah.
Oh, rubber bat you could get fucking any store.
Yeah, just on a string, and they just like sort of...
Wiggle it
around to make it look like its wings are flapping.
But the best part about it is whenever Dracula transforms back into or from the bat...
It never look... No, it doesn't never look good. It looks fine once.
Every time it's just a hard cut, so it's like never like, ooh, mysterious, I wonder how he does. It's just the bat's on screen, then now the fucking Dracula's on screen.
Now the fucking Dracula.
You know, that one. And then there's the one that looks good.
The one that looks fine is when the bat goes behind the wagon.
Exactly. And you can still see it cut. Like, you can see something shifted in the frame. But, like, it still looks better than usual.
Yeah, for sure. So Dracula attacks one of the Native Americans, who then assume that it was the people on the wagon that killed the Native American woman.
Yep.
And so they chase and kill everyone on the wagon. Cut to the city.
Oh, yeah. Even while recording this and mentioning his name at least once or twice, I forgot Billy the Kid was a character in this.
So meanwhile, during all of this, Billy the Kid is finally introduced as a new man who has left his criminal past behind him as a way to support the new family that he hopes to start with Betty. And before all of this, Dracula goes to the little bar, right? I think does he go to the bar before or after?
I think he goes to the bar just before we meet Billy the Kid.
Okay, so he goes to the bar where he introduces himself to the town in what I have to say is one of the least suspicious introductions.
Oh, definitely not the tiniest bit suspicious. He walks in, and what's the name he uses? He takes the identity of Betty's uncle.
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's call him Jerry Seinfeld. He takes the identity of Jerry Seinfeld, and he goes up to the bartender. He's like, "Yes, I'd like a room." And
so my name is Seinfeld. Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld. Remember the name. It's Jerry Seinfeld. I have committed 0 crimes. I am here to come into the city and do all of this business because I'm not committing any crimes. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. My name is Jerry Seinfeld. Can I have a room?
See, and we really liked this fiction that everyone knew he would, like, because in the movie, there are people that are like, you look like a guy that I've seen that was Dracula.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, I'm not him.
I sure, if there's one thing I know about myself, it's that I'm not Dracula, because Dracula commits crimes.
And I don't. So we really like this idea that whenever he'd walk into a room, everyone would be like, "Oh, hey, Jerry Fuck.
Like, they all know.
They're just, like, trying to make him feel better.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, it's me, Jerry Seinfeld. We know Jerry Seinfeld. Please, just go into the room. We were talking about some other person, this guy named Dracula.
All right, I am going to my room now. And
Right.
then he goes up, and then eventually everyone, like...
Dracula's, am I right? Anyway.
Anyway, so Dracula introduces himself to the town, and then we're introduced to Billy the Kid. We are also introduced to a small family that is weirdly terrified of vampires.
Yeah, like, they knew... It's like they knew what kind of movie they were
They
in.
read up on their vampire studies.
I would argue they read the script. Not the actors, but the characters.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, Dracula's in this? What's he gonna do to me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
In like a Mel Brooks. In a Mel Brooks-esque way of just like breaking the fourth wall entirely and just being like, wait, what's this in the script?
We are watching Blazing Saddles by Mel Gibson. Hence the offensive language towards Native Americans in this.
Oof.
You hear that? I'm coming for your Mel.
Aren't we all? You know what? I'll be the first to say this. I wasn't that big on Hacksaw Ridge. So take that, Mel.
Oh my god.
Anyway, we consistently run off of the rails entirely.
You know what? If they want a consistent telling of the story, watch it themselves.
That's true.
If they
That's
want
true.
fucking non-tangential bullshit, they can come here to their loving dads.
Should we introduce ourselves as dads?
We are dads of no children.
Anyway. Anyway. So eventually they meet up, Dracula and Billy the Kid. Dracula introduces himself to Betty and Billy, which is a great two names to say next to each other, as Betty's uncle. And then for pretty much the next 45 minutes of the movie, nothing really happens. Think about that aspect for a moment. We've spent like the past 10 minutes or so just talking about the first 15 minutes of this movie, and we're just skipping over the next 45 so
That's how
easily.
little happens. And I can actually sum it up in these two different explanations. The first 20 minutes of the 45 minutes is people being like, hey, Billy, we think Jerry Seinfeld might be Dracula. He's like, vampires don't exist. It's fine.
And then the second half of these 25 minutes is Billy the Kid being like, hey, maybe you were right about this Dracula
And they're like, nah, you were right. We trust you, Billy. We've trusted you since day one. So.
Also, during all of this, it actually turns into more of like Billy the Kid versus another favorite character.
Who, I love him purely for one action he does and his name. His name's fucking Red Thorpe.
Red Thorpe. So Billy the Kid in this movie feels more like he has a rivalry, less with Dracula and more with Red for most of the movie.
In fact, I'm gonna mildly spoil part of the ending. He fights Dracula precisely once. He fights Thorpe 3 goddamn times.
He really does. So there's the initial incident where it's at the bar.
Yep.
And they just sort of have a little bit of a scuffle, and
It's nothing too bad.
Billy the Kid says to Thorpe that if you pull your gun on me again, I'll kill you.
Sure enough, he does pull his gun on him later. Nothing happens by it.
Yeah, in fact, if anything, the next time that Thorpe pulls his gun on Billy the Kid, Thorpe wins that fight. And does my favorite action. He steals his horse. It's not a big action when I say it like that, but we have become addicted to the fact that Thorpe is
a serial horse stealer.
a horse thief.
But can I just talk about that fight scene for 1 second?
Yeah, of course.
It's amazing because it is, like, incredibly normally choreographed, where it's just, they're just throwing punches, it's fine, but it's got no music to it.
Zero music. And it makes it feel so light, and, like, the thing about not having music in an action scene or in a fight scene, it goes one of two ways. it either makes it seem a lot more intense and real, as you can see in the latest Mission Impossible film.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. There's the bathroom fight in that film, which
is so good.
It's really good, and you need a lot of really good sound design to really make that feel as intense as it does.
I love Mission Impossible Fallout New Vegas.
I personally prefer Mission Impossible Fallout 3. But at least we can both agree that we don't like Mission Impossible Fallout 76.
Oh. I haven't played it yet, so I will keep my mind open.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
I've only played a little of it, but not good. But
you don't play as Tom Cruise. That was my main issue.
Yeah. You know, if there was more Scientology, I'd be more okay with that game. Anyway, so that's the one way that having no music in a fight scene can happen. The other is, this is a much less popular example, but in the film Nebraska by Alexander Payne, two cousins have a fight with each other. There's no music, and it just seems like they're tussling, and it is the funniest thing.
I love it when it's not done well, because it just looks like someone was like, oh, cool, world star, and it's so fucking dumb, and I love it.
So that's how the first, or rather the second fight between Billy and Thorpe plays out, is that Billy loses and his horse is stolen.
Which brings me to my favorite sentence I have ever read. Right here in our notes, there's just, reading this by itself it just sounds like nonsense. It says, and I quote, Thorpe fights Billy and steals his horse. Like, if you were talking about literally, like if someone walked into a conversation and they just heard, and then Thorpe fights Billy and steals his horse. It sounds like you're making up some bullshit story.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Thorpe alone does not sound like a real name.
So then Billy, distraught through all of this, because also at this point, I think this is around when Dracula fires Billy the Kid.
Yeah, which he never really hired him, as far as I remember.
I don't recall him ever hiring Billy the Kid to do anything.
But, at one point he threatens him, if you keep acting like that, you won't have a job soon. And then eventually, yep, you don't got a job. And he's like,
So Billy, distraught, goes to the local bar, where Thorpe eventually walks in as well.
Yes. Billy's lesser-known full name, Billy Distraught.
Billy Distraught. So Thorpe comes into the bar, and they have another shootout fight, and Billy the Kid follows through on the promise finally that he does in fact kill Thorpe. Actually, no. There is the possibility that Thorpe got away, because you can see the gunshot wound, and it's not exactly where the heart would be.
And also, the bartender does check his pulse, but he checks it right in his stomach. So
there's a pretty, good possibility. I won't say probability, but there's a good possibility that Thorpe might very well still be alive, stealing horses as always.
Hear me out. If I remember correctly, in Red Dead Revolver, the video game, before Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2, the main character's name was Red. We got Red right here. Red Thorpe. It's not unheard of.
Are you implying that the Red Dead Redemption
series takes place in the same cinematic universe? I guess we'll have to wait to see fucking Red Dead Redemption 2 versus Red Dead Revolver.
All right, well... So, anyway, going back to the movie, we keep spinning off. So, this fight, this shootout, eventually leads to Billy's capture by the police, or rather the sheriff.
Oh, yeah, because he is just granted, he was a murderer before, because he's Billy the fucking Kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just a murderer, huh?
Yeah, he sure is.
I never really think about that when thinking about cowboys. They did just straight up murder.
Yeah.
I mean, did a lot of worse things, too, but...
So, Billy gets captured by the police, and... one of the paranoid women women who's paranoid about vampires and Dracula and all that.
Yes, one of the many.
comes to his aid, and Billy eventually holds the sheriff at gunpoint and just takes the keys and gets away.
Gets away by stealing the sheriff's horse.
Stealing a horse, baby.
Do you see the domino trail that has started by Thorpe?
When will this end? So, Billy finds Dracula in a cave, because Dracula went to this cave with
By the
Betty.
way, yeah, whenever Dracula heard about the cave, they were like, oh yeah, it's an old silver mine. He's like, is it like a cave? And like, yeah, I guess it could be a cave.
Like he's
and
super interested in caves.
He looks like he's
exclusively.
face fucking whoever's, or like eye fucking whoever, not face fucking, those are two very different things. He looks like he's eye fucking whoever, that kind of sounds violent. He is fucking with it, undressing with his eyes, whoever keeps mentioning the cave. And it's, again, the most uncomfortable thing I have seen in this movie.
Yeah.
So he has the most uncomfortable line and the most uncomfortable visible action.
So Billy goes into this cave to fight Dracula. At long last, we follow up on this title, Billy the Kid versus Dracula. And the fight is so weirdly non-action based.
Yeah.
So Billy tries to shoot Dracula.
Hold on, let's fucking rewind for about 30 seconds.
Sure.
Let's not forget that Dracula's like, oh shit, I think I hear him coming. And then hides. Billy comes in, and the moment Billy walks in, Dracula walks out like, yo. Like, you had the element of surprise, dude. And you wasted your dramatic entrance, too. What is wrong with you? You were supposed to be a drama queen, Dracula.
So Billy tries to shoot Dracula, and they just go right through him.
Yep.
And even though he even though he fires a couple shots at first, he then wastes the rest of his gun on this. And then,
Ooh, you want to know what would have been a baller move?
What?
If he shot a few shots at Dracula, it didn't work. So he's like, okay. Puts the gun to Betty's head, like, back off.
I was just about to say that might be a pretty good tactic.
Yeah. Dracula would have to call his bluff and be like, nah, you love her, you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But, like, what have you got to lose? Don't shoot her. But, like, what do you get to lose by threatening her? She's knocked out on this bed. She's knocked out on a bed, by the way.
A bed made of... Is she just lying on stone, though? Like, I forget.
I believe it had red sheets on it.
Okay, yeah. So... Eventually, Billy is, like, not sure what to do. So the sheriff comes in, and he uses the gun again, right?
Yeah, he uses his own gun.
Yeah. So he takes the sheriff's gun, fires again, which doesn't work.
Again. Shocking.
And then, in the tactic that I was, like, hoping that would work, and it does, is he just takes the gun and throws it at Dracula.
Yeah, it fucking hits Dracula in the face, and he collapses, so... Like,
he crumbles.
Yeah, just in a matter of seconds, you just hear, and he's down. He's down for the count, more or less.
He's just out.
Granted, Billy goes over to him and, like, drives a scalpel into his heart, because, like, a stake or whatever.
Yeah, and that's what really does it. But
like, he just straight up got knocked out by getting a gun thrown to him.
And then you see the bat try to fly away.
Yep.
And I'm sure this is gonna, like, cause us a lot of trouble later on in this series.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Billy the Kid stabs a stake into
Dracula,
into
the
Dracula,
human, or not the human, but the humanoid.
Yeah. And the bat falls to the ground and dies. And then you see Dracula's body become a skeleton.
Yeah, so we were thinking when the bat flies away, it was like Dracula's soul escaping or whatever. But then it just falls to the ground and dies, and you're like, oh shit, okay. But why is Dracula's body still there also?
Yeah.
Which, like Kyle said, he turns into a skeleton.
Yep.
And I
don't know what's scarier. Dracula or skeleton Dracula?
You don't know how desperately I want any movie to have skeleton Dracula in it. Give me fucking Bill Gates versus skeleton Dracula, and I will be happy.
Give me anyone versus skeleton Dracula.
Give me skeleton Dracula versus the IRS, and it's just skeleton Dracula, like, doing his taxes, and I'll still love it.
Yeah.
Like, because just the fact that you threw in skeleton Dracula, A, it lets me know what movie it comes directly after, and B, like, you're creative enough to do that shit, that's interesting enough. Fucking, I'm all in. 10 out of 10.
And then that pretty much ends the movie. The only thing we pointed out was that Thorpe eventually goes on to start a successful stable of stolen horses, which is still running today.
Yeah, it's not specified in the movie, but if you ask us, Thorpe continued to steal horses.
That's the true ending.
Yeah. You have to 100 complete the movie.
Yeah. So I guess we can go into our personal opinions about this movie.
Yeah.
So this movie is pretty awesome as like, you know, it's not a particularly like well-made movie.
I wouldn't even say that it's so bad it's good either, because it's not that bad.
It's not terrible, no. But like, you know, if you have a taste for these kind of like 60s B movies, then and no, I know what you are thinking, Andrew.
Yeah, but hear me out. Don't say it. But we did mention Jerry Seinfeld.
But yeah, if you have a taste for them, this is like a really good example of that type of movie.
Yeah.
It's silly, it's ridiculous.
If you can, if you make it through the first 15 minutes and like it, keep watching and even try to push through the 45 minutes of filler, because
even the 45 minutes,
no,
the 45 minutes aren't terrible. Yes,
drink
they're
45 Miller Lights.
they are entirely filler.
Yeah,
but like it's still fun within the universe of this movie. And there are a couple of nice little touches to this movie that I like.
Yeah,
some little attention to detail. So when one of the women goes to when the doctor takes out a book about vampires and Dracula and all that,
which she just had lying around as all doctors do.
Yep, you never know. You know, there's the common trope of everyone's just magically able to open to the page that they wanted to reference. But it's shown, and it's a nice tiny little detail that she actually had those pages folded, so that she could use them for reference.
Which even makes sense because, like, oh, she's hearing all this shit about vampires going around the town. Better read up on them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that's a nice little touch because they didn't really have to do that. No one would have noticed except for like someone who's watched the movie at least twice now.
Yeah, fucking 50 years after the fact.
And then another little touch that I liked was that whenever you see someone who was bitten by Dracula, they have 4 dots on their neck instead of just
2.
Usually 2, which accounts for both the top teeth and the bottom teeth.
Yeah,
which is, again, a nice little attention to detail, which I don't really see too often.
So, real quick, I want to ask you, what takeaway did you get from this? Like, any moral to the story or, like, any thoughts that you got going in?
I would say that my big takeaway from this movie was don't trust your uncle.
Okay.
Because you never know if your uncle could be Dracula disguised as Jerry Seinfeld.
Or worse, Jerry Seinfeld disguised as Dracula.
And what was your takeaway from Billy the Kid versus Dracula?
I would want to say that if you want to be a real hero, steal some horses. Yeah,
you can start a nice little profitable business. You can even take down some big-time criminals like Billy the Kid.
Yeah, exactly. Billy the Kid is a murderer.
Yeah.
And you helped stop him by stealing his horse.
Granted, he's leaving that behind, and quote-unquote.
And technically, because you stole his horse, he stole someone else's horse, so he just committed another crime. Now that I think of it. But you know what? Crime is cool.
So is that your takeaway?
Yeah.
Okay.
My takeaway is... crime is cool if you commit it against other crime doers. No honor among thieves. Live by that.
All right, well, duly noted. And now we go into our final little segment here. We're going to fit this into our cinematic universe. And, you know, it's pretty easy because this is the only... It's the first one. So it's pretty easy to say where this one fits into our timeline. But to put, like, a date on it for future reference...
I'd say we can take it to a movie. A nice dinner.
Yeah, even though it is a movie itself.
Yeah, that's fair. I wouldn't want to look in the mirror for a date. It's like, hey, let's go on to the mirror. Let's stand there for, like, an hour and a half. Anyway.
But the actual Billy the Kid died at age 21 in the year 1881. And within the context of the film, his fiancée, Betty, is 18 years old.
And beautiful.
Oh, disgusting. So our decided date for when this is set is around 1880, because there was a bit of an age difference in marriage at the time.
Yeah. So
we decided that Billy the Kid would probably be about 20, even though he definitely looks like he's 35.
Yeah, big time.
And also looks like a Wild West version of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, he looks like 3 things all put together. He looks like a cowboy version of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Mm-hmm. Jeff Daniels, the actor, and William Shatner in Star Trek specifically.
Okay, yeah.
He looks like if you were able to mash all those together, you get Billy the Kid in this movie.
All right.
And that's been our first episode. That was Billy the Kid versus Dracula. Next time, we'll be doing another movie, as I hope you would have gathered by this point.
This is the only time we're going to talk about a movie.
It's like every episode we just do Billy the Kid versus Dracula again. It's like, it's such a good movie, you guys! Thank you for tuning in, and we will... You will hear us next time, hopefully.
And we'll be discussing the film...
Oh, yeah. Let's not call it a film. Let's call it what it is. The travesty.
We'll be watching the travesty known as Bigfoot versus D.B. Cooper. If you want to watch that ahead of us, so that way you can tune into the conversation well informed, you can find it on Amazon Prime, and it should also just be available to rent if you don't have a Prime account.
Yeah, my advice, though, just try to avoid it. It scares me.
It is admittedly not nearly as fun as this.
That's the least we can say right now. Tune in next week for an actual takeaway.
Yeah.
Everything. I don't know what words are hard, dude.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to My Brother, and Me.
We'd appreciate it if next time you listen to our podcast, Cinematic UniVersus. This episode was brought to you by Eggs, where the yolk's on you.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Those accounts can be found in the description.
Subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.
I've been Kyle Torres.
And I've been Andrew Carten.
And this was Cinematic UniVersus, where the yolk's on you.